In our conversation.
Yes.
As we said, we are joined by June Chepkemei, CEO, Kenya Tourism Board. We are talking about sports talent and opportunities, also with Abdi Mohamed, Managing Director and CEO, Absa, Kenya. Thank you both for being here. I'll start off with a quote. It's okay, you know, this is a very optimistic time, but that quote may take us back a bit, right? But it's by Japheth Korir. He's a Kenyan long-distance runner, winner of the 2015 Boston Marathon. Upon winning, one of the things he said in his interview is, "You cannot eat medals."
You cannot eat?
Medals.
Medals.
Just reflect on what you think. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but talk to us, because we do want to talk about talent and opportunity.
Yeah.
So what do you think he was trying to say a decade ago? And whether it still holds sometimes, that we're not really, you know, supporting all around.
Right.
Yeah.
June giggled already just at the thought of not being able to eat medals.
She had a visual.
Yeah, I just thought about it. Actually, you can.
You can eat medals.
You can eat medals. It depending on how you package yourself as a sports personality. Look at the global stars these days that are no longer either on the pitch or are active in sports. They're actually eating their medals way into retirement. And I think that's the conversation we need to have as a country on how to properly package sports marketing.
Okay. Perspective.
So you can eat the medals?
Perspective. Okay.
I think it speaks to the link between sport and livelihood, and making sure that as our sports people, you know, shine and win globally, that we ensure that it also works for their livelihood. And there are many things that can be done to ensure that that happens, not just in terms of the medal itself, but life beyond the medal and how they manage themselves financially, and a lot of other things that can be done to empower and help them utilize, you know, their talent.
Great.
That's great. Actually, it just goes into what we're about to talk about. There's talent, and then the opportunities that this talent gives you. Because the talent is good, and it helps you. I mean, you're just exploiting your talent, but then beyond the day that you exploit your talent, what do you do with that? As Absa, and we had a conversation with you, but it was in Muthaiga last year, and now here we are in Karen. This is, what, the 15th year that you're supporting the Magic Kenya
yes,
Open?
15th year, yes.
And as a bank, you told us last year, one of the reasons why you do this is because you want to be part of a community that develops sports. And you also want to be part of working with your community in various ways and uplifting people. So just jumping off what you've just said, there's talent and then seeing the opportunities. What does a bank do beyond just taking my money and keeping it and lending it to other people? And asking me many questions when I come to borrow from my own money. But what does a bank do in terms of just developing that awareness, the financial literacy, but also awareness to see opportunities?
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Eric and team. I think it's good to be back 1 year later. And I was just, Eric was just telling me, you guys have a studio and I should come there. Because
we actually have brick and mortar somewhere.
We don't just exist outdoors.
Yeah, because every interview I've done with you is outdoors. But it's great to be back. I think for us, the way we look at sport, and you know, sport is something that is very dear to Absa. This golf tournament is just part of a much bigger, you know, story that we have with sport. We see it as something that inspires the nation, something that unifies, but we see sport also as part of the wider economic empowerment. And just to give you an example, when we do tournaments such as this, there is a very big ecosystem of SMEs, small businesses that are supporting the logistics and the delivery of such a great, you know, tournament. Having players come in from 29 countries, having, you know, over 144 professionals playing with us here during this tournament. The logistics behind it requires a lot of support from many small businesses that participate. So we look at it both from the perspective of the experience that it gives to the Kenyan people and to the world. But also we look at it from the perspective of the economic activity surrounding such a big tournament and the impact that it has. And I know, you know, the guest will speak about the impact it has for brand Kenya and many other aspects of it. But for us, we see it as our role as a force for good within the community, and our role in participating to develop talent in different sporting initiatives. And we'll talk about it. I mean, last week we had the Sirikwa Classic, which is a prime athletics property. There is Chepkemei coming up. So this is part of that wider sports story that Absa has.
Okay. I like that, you mentioned the other ways that it plays into, for example, tourism. And I'll go to June now, because when we think of selling Magical Kenya, I think for most people, we have really good beaches. Have you seen our wildlife? Talk to us about sports and that tourism, that nexus, how it's grown, especially with the advent of things like Magical Kenya Open and it becoming bigger and bigger every year.
The sports tourism globally is approaching 1.8 billion US dollars, and is estimated to hit $1 trillion by 2032. That goes to show that indeed the value of tourism sports tourism can only go higher. When you think about it practically in Kenya, a sports tourist spends 3 times more than a leisure tourist, and the golf tourist spends even higher than an ordinary sports tourist. Now, 1.8 billion USD. The question is, what percentage of that are we harnessing as a country? When you see government putting in prize money of up to 2.7 million US dollars for Magical Kenya Open alone, that goes to show that indeed it has value to the economy beyond just the value in currency. But we know that one tourist employs 11 people within the tourism value chain, just beyond the sporting and the value that the sportsmen and women get to derive. But most importantly is when you have corporates having conversation about sports, because sports is actually business and it is pure marketing. So the more we get to corporate having conversation around sports and tourism, then we are convinced as a country that we are growing that sector.
Sorry to take you back, but just tell us who a sports tourist is and why they're spending so much money. Because if you're saying they're spending on average 3 times more than a leisure tourist, and for golf that goes even higher, why so much? And who is a sports tourist?
A sports tourist is a spectator, fans who come to enjoy the game, be it soccer, be it golf. Now, and a golfer is actually a tourist. A majority of golfers come into the country not just to play, but to experience the destination. I'll give you an example of the current players that are participating in this particular tournament. They've already had excursions within the park. Once they're done playing, they will go possibly rest in our beaches. They're going to continue playing as they explore our over 40 golf courses within the country. That's money that they're spending. So they're active and they're also having their leisure time. So they end up spending to play, spending to enjoy, and as they continue moving within the destination, that is money that they're leaving into the economy. And then it fits into what the CEO, Absa, has mentioned, that the SMEs within that entire value chain then gets to feel that journey of the dollar.
I think just before I come to Abdi, just back to you again, June. So it feels like a lot of our sports people are global icons, but haven't really been leveraged as tourism ambassadors in the country. Do you agree with that? And is there a sense that more needs to be done so that they are also sort of front and center of selling that sports tourism story?
Very true, and that's why that quote was valid. It's not just enough to have a medal. How do we package so that they can be our ambassadors? We've seen corporates taking on our athletes' icons. We have Eliud working for many brands, including Magical Kenya. We've onboarded Faith. We need to see more. We have more icons that needs to be, packaged. And also it's about knowledge, that it's not just enough to eat from that medal or you need to just rise and win a medal, but how do we package you? That also education for the sports personality to be open, to be utilized as ambassadors and for brands and even for destinations.
Yeah, ambassadors, yes, for sports and for brands. Abdi, I think Absa is one of those organizations that's sort of like ahead of it, right? Being able to look at sports as something that is diverse. Last year, I think you are also talking about the fact that there needs to be a lot more collaborative effort. A year on, what kind of steps have been taken to just broaden this so that it can be even more massive? Absa is already doing such incredible work, but how do we broaden that to include even more players?
Yeah. Look, I think first, before I come to that, this idea of our sports icons being well known out there is true. I mean, I traveled with Eliud and I was amazed by the kind of reaction he receives internationally. And I think it's such an important part of what needs to be done to ensure that they promote Kenya and they are recognized for it. And I think a lot of work is being done on that. With regards to private sector, we are seeing continuous improvement. There is, Absa has been part of this game, as you say, for a long time. But increasingly, we are seeing, even the sponsorship profile for events such as this continue to change. More private sector players come in. And this is the way we look at it as Absa. We don't see this as a self-promoting exercise. We see it as something that the entire private sector should come in and participate and be part of. I think the partnership we have with the Tourism Board, the wider government and the sports ministry, that all brings it to more success. This is not something that one organization can do alone. And we've done a lot around athletics, around golf. We're looking at potentially other areas of sport that we can go into. But the more private sector players come in, the better. And we've definitely seen better participation, as we move forward.
June, you spoke about, and both of you have said this, that there's value in when we see these well-organized sports events having the backing of the private sector and the value that it generates to the country as brand and also in terms of real actual cash, right?
Yeah.
I wonder whether there is any harmonized policy at the national level, at government level, that says this is our approach and our strategy towards making sure that this $1.8 billion globally, X% is coming to Kenya. Is there such a strategy that looks at 2032, you said 1 trillion will be actually circulating in sports? Is there a strategy that says Kenya's strategy 2032 sports tourism? Because right now I look at it, and we are just going to a break shortly, so you can think about that as we come back out of the break. I think, Absa has supported the Sirikwa, has supported the Chepkemei Classic, this particular one. We see other private sector players supporting other sporting events in athletics, in football. We had a big tournament last year. We're going to have a big football tournament next year. We had a big rugby tournament last weekend. It's going to be annual. We're going to have a very big rallying event coming up again this year, the WRC. All these things seem to be happening in silos, and then maybe sometimes private sector jumps onto one, KTB jumps onto the other. I want to know whether there is actually a strategy that we can discuss. 2032, how much we shall make.
The happy accidents.
Yes.
Yeah. Beyond the happy accidents.
Beyond the happy accidents. But it's 27 minutes after 7. We are having a conversation with Abdi Mohamed, who is the Group MD and CEO at Absa, and Chepkemei, who is the CEO of the Kenya Tourism Board. We are talking about sports, talent and opportunities, coming to you live from the current country club where Magical Kenya Open is taking place this weekend. It's an international golf tournament, part of the DP World Tour. We'll be back shortly.
What's up, nation? This is Parsanka Raphael from Kimana in Loitoktok. Sisi hapa Kimana ndio tunalisha Kenya nzima kwa vitunguu na nyanya. Kwa hivyo tungependa sana serikali iangalie bei ya mbegu, fertilizer na hata madawa.
Thank you, Rafael Parsanka, neighbor wa Eric pale Kimana.
Classmate.
Classmate. Okay.
Classmate.
Hey, kwani kila mtu Kimana anajuana. Everybody knows everybody.
One big community that loves one another.
I love it. I really need to go to Kimana, by the way. If there's someone who is an ambassador for Kimana, it's Eric Latin.
Yes, it is.
He's given me the want to go and visit. But you're absolutely right. Mna feed the whole of Kenya na nyanya na vitungu. And you're a wonderful fixer. Thank you for showing us around your day, your world, your home. It's an incredible way to fix the nation. You can also send us your video. Now, I'm not talking to Rafael, I'm talking to you. Yes, send us your video on WhatsApp Nation. Let us know how you're fixing the nation or what you wish could be done to fix the nation. Show us where you are, what's working, what's not working. Send that to 0769 590 762. I repeat, 0769 590 762. Back in conversation, of course. Oh, before we get to the conversation, let's go to the feedback.
Just people just saying hello. We have Sir Brian M. We have Liz Likizo B. Everybody just saying good morning and that they are watching us. So we appreciate everyone. We'll continue this conversation. And you can share your thoughts as well on sports tourism, some of the ideas you have, some of the things that you think can be done to really just elevate us as our sports. We are a sports powerhouse.
We are.
We are. How do we elevate that?
In more than just one sport.
That's true.
Actually, people just
Let's
think
flex
about
that muscle.
Athletics. And I saw somebody from the Continental Rugby Federation saying, you know what, Kenyans, you guys are so good in rugby, you can actually win the World Cup. If you just put some little bit of effort into it, professionalize how you train, and so on and so forth, you can beat the big guys.
But that falls into what we're talking about when you say, streamline how you train, streamline that. That's still those are the opportunities that exist.
Yeah.
How do we elevate that from opportunity to turn it around to something else?
Into something, and that's why I was asking the question from government side and then also from private sector as you hear about it. At government level, is there such a strategy that brings in together, say the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Sports, works into how to elevate the federations, so federations are strong, and then federation organized tournaments, then tournaments will be sponsored by the private sector, and everybody in the ecosystem will be happy. But there needs to be a proper strategy. Is there such?
So the question is there a strategy? And the answer is yes. If you read the MTP plan, MTP4, the medium-term development plan, it has put sports at the center of the economic transformation agenda. And that's the short-term planning blueprint, and it then fits into the long-term blueprint, which is actually the Vision 2030. Then what do government do once such plans are in place? It is then backed by budget, and government does what it is expected to do, putting up the infrastructure. And that's why we're seeing sports stadiums coming up in different places. But beyond that, it is not enough to have a stadium. You need to have a talent pipeline. How do you build the talent pipeline? You incorporate it into a structured arrangement within the curriculum. And I think this is the first year that we've seen the transition of CBE learners who are pursuing sports pathway as a career. Yeah. That's how you streamline it. The question is, how then do we coordinate it at a certain level that you now begin to turn talent into commercially viable initiative? And that's then private sector comes in to plug into the conversation. You have federations plugging into the conversation. And most importantly, the funds. Funds can build or destroy our sports. We keep saying that as you fix the nation, let's fix the fan base. We have to educate the fan to know that they have the potential to build or destroy. When we have fans fighting during games, no brand, including Absa, they will not sponsor it, they will pull away. If you remember rugby way back, about 10 years ago, Safaricom was sponsoring it in a big way. Then the management just didn't align it properly, and the brands cannot accept to ban their brands, so they pull away. Soccer, the same. So we also need to grow together, fix the policies, align them, properly coordinate, but also educate the fan base.
Okay.
It's a good one. In the next hour, we're going to have a conversation with some of these federations. Athletics Kenya will be there. We'll also have Football Kenya Federation will be there, and we'll be asking them those questions on how they do it, plus how they package themselves into properly viable opportunities that can be sponsored by people like Absa. But from where you sit at private sector...
Bankable.
And bankable, that's the thing. Yeah. Do you see those wider opportunities beyond athletics where you are in right now and golf?
Yeah, I think, first of all, in terms of the policy making and the strategy, you know, the federations play a very important role and really affects, you know, encourages participation by private sector. We deal in our, you know, activities in Absa, we deal with Athletics Kenya. We've seen over the years a very well-run sporting, you know, federation. We deal with KOGL for this particular tournament. So I think these federations, including FKE, play a very important role in terms of what they put into the process, but also the actual management of these tournaments as and when they come up. I think for us, as I said, athletics and golf have been our big ones, but we've also been looking at other potential sports, including football, to see how we can participate. The idea of how you develop talent from grassroots level, not just in these big national tournaments, but from the grassroots is quite important as well. You know, if you look at golf and what we are doing with the Kenyan professionals, and as you say, Eric, there is a lot of opportunity to do work in between the tournaments as well, so that we are helping them develop and get ready. I think is a very important part. And this year what we did is we had quite a lead up to the Kenya Open. And there were tournaments right from late last year coming into, you know, where we are, that really helped these local pros develop mentally, physically for the game and be ready. Because this is global. When you play on this stage, it's really up there. And there's a lot of preparation and readiness that is required to do that. So, yeah, I think this is for us a big, big part of who we are, a big part of what we do. Our customers enjoy it. We've done an event here yesterday evening. We have one to this evening as well. And our clients and stakeholders really look forward to this event. It has become a big part of our calendar over the years.
Right. It's part of the golf season, but also just the Kenya event season, and it's a major one. But I wanted to go a bit more granular, because I think as maybe Magical Kenya, as Safari Rally, you know, things like that, I can see how I can just knock on Abdi's door and we have a good conversation and we find a way to partner or to cooperate with one another or to get funding. But when I'm just Mariam, who for some reason wants to do bobsledding, which is a winter sport, but I come from Kenya, but I'm really good at it so far, and I want, you know, to talk to Absa, I don't think it would be that easy, or would it? How do we make it possible from a banking perspective to actually now do that ground up building, and when there are no especially federations involved, like you talked about, because it's not always the case where there's a federation or there's goodwill from a sports community. Sometimes you're just the first. Yeah.
It's a good challenge, Mariam. I think the idea is to ensure that there is a proper talent pipeline that is coming up for the country. The idea is to make sure that in addition to doing the big events that we do, we're able to support individual sports people. There are a few examples of athletes that we have dealt with. You've mentioned some other upcoming sports.
Yes.
I saw tennis as well, and we have a Kenyan who is doing quite well in that field.
Yes.
And I think it's a challenge for us, as you say, as a private sector, to ensure that we are supporting those as well. And it's not just the big grand events. And for us, when we go to these grassroots athletics events, that's when you see the true talent at the grassroots level. And we are quite willing and happy to support that as well.
All right.
Actually, I don't think it's you, really, private sector, who should be slapping yourselves. You're doing the best you can, in how best you can. I think it's government. Government takes the lead in signaling. If the government doesn't signal that it supports tennis, Angela Okutoi will not get sponsorship. If the government doesn't signal that it will promote darts, right? Our darts guy would not get sponsorship to go and win for us, right? It's about government signaling, and that's why I was very, very big on that. The Ministry of Sports has a singular mandate of promoting sports in this country. Not athletics, not football, sports, right? And making sure that anybody who thinks of any sport that and they can do, they have an opportunity and they know how they can do it. If you want to start a federation of bobsledding in this country, you can start a federation of bobsledding and you'll be able to walk into the ministry and get the necessary support in just leading you, holding the door for you, giving you the introduction letter that you can go with to Abdi Mohamed and say, yes, this is bobsledding, and they have their stamp from the Ministry of Sport.
Right.
That would help Abdi to actually call his team and say, can we talk to this guy?
Yeah, but in the
And
meantime,
I see where you're going with that, and I will definitely chime in because I am government.
Yes.
Yes, we have possibly not spoken about it and highlighted it more, but that's exactly what government does. Did you know that there is a huge golf course in Lenana that government has invested in just to demystify these sports and ensure that every single ordinary Kenyan can have a chance to experience this sport? How else do you develop sports? You do it where the young people are. So in our schools, there's a huge program. Teachers who are trained in sports are employed to build that talent that is then expected to be picked up by the investors in sports, be it clubs, and let's face it, Latif, the leading sporting clubs in the world, whether it's in Premier League, is purely private sector led. So government, you build the talent, the pipeline, then the private sector picks it up and invests in it further to take it towards commercialization. You also know that government started Talanta, Nihela, as also a part of the program that is helping to provide incentive and to support the growth of talent. And when there are such tournaments like this that are organized by private sector, government comes in with prize money. Also, that's the part of signaling. WRC, how much money is government putting in? Athletics, how much money is government putting in? Soccer, what is government doing? So I think the question is, how do we better coordinate the key players within the sector so that it's very clear and it's well communicated for the Kenyan people to benefit?
That's true, and I completely agree. Government is doing some bits, but also I always wonder whether it's driven by some interest. So if, for example, you have a minister and this minister has interest in something, or a president who has interest in motorsport, then they'll do everything to bring WRC back to the country, right? And one who also sees the value of athletics or the value of football in the masses. But then there are those others, even in athletics, where javelin is a guy who just does it for himself until he becomes a world champion and becomes the team captain for Kenya in the international tournaments. So this, I agree with you, it's a coordination, but I hope that the government also agrees that coordination is not a start-stop thing. It ought to be a continuous thing.
Yeah, and it's not based on an incumbent's interest, that it goes beyond that, and that it also, tying into what Mariam says, also looks at unique sports. Because I'm willing to bet that there are so many other people who see something beyond even bobsledding, whatever it is, and they're like, I want to do that. You know, archery, we already have somebody who does that. So how do we balance that and saying, how do we open this up while also paying attention to the ones that are pretty big? Do we host a flagship sports event in this country? Flagship, like, which is ours? Do we?
What do you mean?
I don't know, something that is born and bred of...
I would think athletics, you know, the Chepkemei Classics.
Right,
I think
okay, so that's one.
It attracts,
I think,
a lot of countries. We had people from, in the last tournament, the guy from Botswana who won the 200 was here. Shelley-Ann Fraser was here.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is something we own, that is ours, that then attracts people globally. And I think that's one that we really can leverage on.
Yeah, leverage on that. And I think now I was coming to how do we do that more? Because I think that can really cascade the whole sports tourism, as if it's flagship and owned. And, you know, we have the sponsors, we have KTB. I wonder whether that also comes into some of the conversations you have about saying, you know what, this is something that we need to curate and own and market beyond just the Kikeno Classic. There's more that we can do. Are those some of the conversations that you have?
Yes. The other day I was also asking myself, why is it that we don't have an Abbott marathon in Kenya? Yet we are the home of great marathoners. We really must figure out how to do this. We have to do a signature, bigger sporting activities in the country. This is big. The Magical Kenya Open is global, it's big. WRC is global, it's big. But we need to then sit back and have originally Kenyan thought through mega sporting activities. As government, we are ready to provide the prize money. We are ready to provide the platform. The stadiums, the spaces have been provided. We now need to also encourage private sector to conceptualize them and approach government, because we don't take it to market, we build it, we provide the platform. It's the private sector that takes it to the market. We need to show that we are ready to support, and I think this is what we are signaling as the government.
All right.
I think, Janet, maybe what I could add is there is what we own and it's Kenyan. But there are also, sports such as golf, which we have sponsored for a number of years, that is supporting a lot of local talent and developing the sport locally, getting more people to participate in it and expanding, that opportunity. I think my own experience in terms of dealing with the sports ministry and through many different ministers has actually been positive. There is a lot of initiative, a lot of desire to help. I think the key word that June used around coordination, making sure that we are bringing together all of these stakeholders to ensure that we are all pushing in one direction. I think that is the key thing that we need to do going forward. Yeah.
All right. I wanted to localize this idea of sports tourism a little bit, because, again, when we think of a sports tourist, it's the golfer coming from the US, from Canada, from Malaysia, wherever, and they come and they have dollars, they have euros, they have pounds. It's wonderful for our economy. But is there something we're not tapping into as far as sports tourism that's local? And if so, how do we encourage that? How do we let the person in Wajir know that they should come for the Magical Kenya Open, and this is what's happening here? How do we let that person that's, as well in Kisumu, come to the WRC in Naivasha, and so on and so forth? I'll get it from both perspectives. Let me begin with June.
Fantastic. 70% of our tourism is local. So only 30% is international. And I'll even take it further to elaborate it to about now 2.7 international tourists come to Kenya annually, but local bed nights is approaching 10 million. That's the perspective we need to have, that indeed we sustain it. Looking at golf, we have over 40 golf courses in this country. Who is patronizing, who is playing in those clubs? It's actually Kenyans, and they are spending, and you'll be able to see how that adds into the balance of payment. Beyond that, about 10,000 spectators attend WRC. Of course, a majority of them come from within the region, but we have Kenyans also driving down to Nakuru County, Naivasha, to experience it. We now have the Kenya Premier League ongoing. Who is moving from one town, one stadium to the other? It's actually Kenyan. What we need to ask ourselves is, how do we take it to the level that it gets global recognition and it's followed globally just like the other leagues? But to respond to you, indeed, the local domestic tourist spectator is what is sustaining us as a tourism sector.
All right. Maybe we'll thread on the how to take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's what is needed. Because as you asked that question, Mariam, I actually thought about Las Vegas. Right? Remember rugby? And those the tours, Las Vegas,
Masaku Sevens,
Dala, right? So people move around. But then how do we also package that beyond? So you've come for the tournament, but then what else that supports that entire ecosystem. So when you go to Macha, for example, you can just go up there to Moor Hills and see that a place where the gravity moves upwards. You know what I mean? If you go to Dala, where do you visit around Dala? What do you do around Dala? What places do you go to? Where do you eat around Dunga Beach? And this kind of things, because that is what the tourism does, leave an impact to the local community.
Yes.
Do we need some more coordination around that? Because see, KPL will think about the stadium, the players that are coming, the funds within the stadium, but then somebody else has got to think of those funds and what else they do beyond that, June.
We call it fulfillment. So the KPL will announce that they're having a sports activity in Kisumu, but somebody beyond the club comes to support the fulfillment, be it the hoteliers, be it the travel agents, be it the entire players within the tourism ecosystem. Like I said, Latif, they will only come if they know that they will not ban their brand. Nothing will stop a match continuing without spectators, but the value is getting the fans to come, because they'll spend the amount of money that we move around Karen and Nairobi this week because of this facility. Only the bankers can tell you that expenditure, and we see it as an economy. We feel it when we look at the balance of trade. So we again must package it to deliver more value. What do we do as KTB? When you're taking a sports activity, for example, I'll use WRC coming up in Naivasha. We are already out within East Africa drumming up activation for fans to come and experience it. We tracked one fan a year ago that came from Uganda, and as soon as he landed in Kenya, before he left, he had spent over 300,000 in the economy. One fan. That's
Kenya
the value. Kenya shillings. That's the value of sports tourism.
Yeah.
And you just need to move around Nakuru, and even today, just around Karen and Nairobi, to see the value of this DP World event happening right here in Karen. We can do more. We rely on sports events to fill into the low season. January all the way to April is low season. These are the events that now sustain tourism. So to agree with you, we need to milk the dollar.
And the shilling. Abdi, from your perspective, is there something that we could be doing to build, of course, local tourism local sports tourism, and a way to also infiltrate and fund, support everything from like a grassroots, so that by the time we get to a magical Kenya Open, the ground is already set and it's firm?
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, the lead-up events, for example, leading up to this event, were done all over the country, and that creates the awareness and the ability for people to come and participate in the main events. Yeah. With athletics, in addition to the big flagships like Chepkemei Classic, we have started doing city-level kind of marathons and races that help us build that awareness as well and get young people to participate and to be part of it. So I think at the end of the day, it boils down to, awareness. But as June said, we are doing well, actually, in terms of Kenyans and their participation in sports. If you come here on Saturday and Sunday for Magical Kenya Open, 90% of that crowd is Kenyan, and they want to be part of this great event. And really, that is what we encourage, Yeah.
Let me ask a financing question. As a sports person who perhaps may be coming from somewhere outside the country or even internally wants to play at the Magical Kenya Open, would you recommend that they take a loan out?
that depends on so many factors.
Yes.
That's why bankers ask the questions that Eric was talking
Those
about.
Bad questions.
We need to know the state
to make sure that they don't give you money.
We need to know the state of the client, their financing situation, how long they are in the country, what they want to do,
right?
And
their chances of winning.
And there are many different products and solutions that the bank has that will come into each of those situations.
That's a good
Very
one.
diplomatic answer. Yeah.
I was just going to say that was proper diplomacy. Two quick ones, because I think we're almost out of time. You understand risk better than most. Is is there a risk in sport that perhaps as banking, you're like, there's a reason why we don't go beyond a certain, way of involvement. Could you speak to that just very briefly?
Look, I think every initiative in the world has some form of risk, and the job that we have to do is to ensure that within those risks we support the sporting community. If you look at athletics, Kenya has done extremely well. There is areas where we can support athletes better. There is a lot of work we do in places like Eldoret around ensuring that we're helping that young talent come up. So for us, the way we look at it is, how do we ensure that we are supporting the sports people go through that? There is a lot of financial literacy and support in that regard as well. There is the sponsorships that we do, especially in the early stages, to ensure that we are helping them go through that. So risk management is part of life. You have to ensure that you are supporting these great professionals through what they do on a day-to-day basis. In this Magical Kenya Open, this edition, we have quite a number of Kenyan professionals. We are rooting for them. They've done very well in the lead-up season. And really, it's working with them to ensure that every year we are getting more improvement.
A final one then, Abdi. How do you support the SMEs that are investing around sports? For example, in the particular, Magical Kenya Open, there are very many SMEs around it. Over the last 15 years, would you say that you have picked on a small SME who was investing around golf, whether it's, golf gear and so on, or setting up for the event, and now they're actually running on their own? Yeah,
there are many amazing examples, Eric, and I think that's a very good question. Absa has a business banking proposition. We really believe in developing new enterprises and helping people grow their businesses from being a small business to a medium business to a large corporate. And obviously, as a company that has been around for as long as we've been, we have many, many great examples of customers that have gone through that journey. Last year, when we launched the Magical Kenya Open, there is a lady who spoke who does catering business. And she talked about her story with the Kenya Open over all these years. We have a sporting gear manufacturer, somebody who makes T-shirts and so on, who again, on the back of what they have done with the Absa's sporting sponsorships, have now become national. I think they have kitted the national team and have really grown as a business. So I think that continues to be part of the agenda. You'll see just behind the tent here, a big village where all those small businesses will come in. That ecosystem you are talking about around the sporting event, where else do people go? You'll see a lot of people down there in the evening, and it's normally great fun.
Nice.
All right. Thank you. In 30 seconds, June, for every tourist coming into Nairobi because of the Magical Kenya Open, 3 places they must visit before leaving. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, they must experience the wild, which is the national park. They must experience the vibrancy of Nairobi city. They must experience the cuisine, and they must at least experience some of our fine golf courses within the city.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll wrap it up there, but in the next hour, Mikey Kokwa ground. It's already on the ground, but we'll expand this conversation with stakeholders from all across from the sports industry. We'll have people from Athletics Kenya. We'll have athletes themselves. We'll have people from the Football Kenya Federation and talk to them about this nexus between sports and tourism, how to build it, how to take advantage of it, and of course, how to grow. Hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV. We'll be right back after this. A massive thank you to June and Abdi.
Thank you very much.